2008. I was just about ready to go into 8th grade, and the summer before, my math teacher from the previous year had recommended that I do this leadership program called NYLC. And I did go. My mother thought that would be the best thing for me because, I was kind of a strange kid. I wasn't very social. I really didn't like to talk to people. I just kind of kept to myself. So the premise of NYLC was a bunch of children or young teenagers, what have you, would meet up at a historic site in the United States, and we would, sightsee and learn about like history and leadership and just get a really good experience to meet other people. And I'm happy that I went. And I continued to go for 2 years after that. Now, the event itself was not necessarily life-changing. I had a lot of fun and met a lot of really cool people. But there was one instance that, unbeknownst to me, would change my life. So we were sitting at the Hard Rock Cafe in Washington, D.C. And then, now this was the last day. And this was the day before it was time to go home. And, we just thought we'd sit down, have a nice meal, and just, chill out. When I see across, I'm sitting down at the table, and then there's this big TV screen. And I'm sitting across from this TV, and I see this.
I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long. The future is coming.
That intro would change my life and shape who I would be for the years to come. And I saw this cartoon, this animation, but it was a music video. So I go over to the waitress and I say, "Excuse me, who is that? What band is that?" And she looked at me and smiled and she said, "That's Gorillaz." And I guess, as they say, the rest is history. Now after that moment, after seeing the Clint Eastwood video for the first time, I immediately went home. I had my blue iPod, my little blue iPod Nano, and I downloaded every song that ever existed from Gorillaz ever. Now at that time there weren't that many albums out. There was the self-titled Gorillaz, there was the Demon Days album, and then there were the G-sides and the D-sides that were more or less bonus tracks for the other two aforementioned albums. And what's crazy about Gorillaz and being a big fan of Gorillaz was that I came for the animation. I stayed because the music was really good. Now it's important to understand too that at the time, big bands in that middle school era were like My Chemical Romance, 3 Days Grace, a bunch of bands that I do like now, but at the time I really wasn't into. But when I started to listen to, Gorillaz, the Gorillaz album all the way through, and then going to Demon Days, and then G-sides and D-sides, I knew that I fell in love. I wasn't really big into live action things. I wasn't big on the live action TV shows or live action movies at that time in my life. I was really more into animation with cartoons such as, Teen Titans, or anime like Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh! And seeing a band, an animated band, perform music and perform good music just exploded my mind. It was like an awakening for me. Now, this was not the moment where I would say that Kirkwolf was born, but this was certainly a precursor to that. Now, what's very important to note about Gorillaz is that there's always been a change in tone from CD to CD. For example, the first self-titled album named Gorillaz had more of this punk feel with great songs like Clint Eastwood, Rehash, 4-5, 19-2000, and that really spoke to me at the time because I was that kind of kid, rebellious, a loner. I just fell in love with that kind of music. But what was awesome too is that I found out that there were more animated music videos besides the Clint Eastwood one. There was 19-2000, Rock the House, and then there were the ones for the Demon Days album, which are incredible works of art. So as I was watching the music videos as they were being released, I started to get into the actual lore of Gorillaz. And, you know, the animation was good, the music was good, but the lore was super fascinating. Now, to be honest, I wasn't really big into like the supernatural at that time. I wasn't very big into Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft. I am now, but not when I was that young. And Gorillaz was kind of like the gateway to that. And one of the best things about Gorillaz was this bad boy right here. Gorillaz, Rise of the Ogre, the official biography of Gorillaz. Now, it does only go up to a certain extent. It goes up to the completion of the Demon Days album, and then explains what happens in the Feel Good Inc. video, and then the El Mañana video. And it's just a wonderful piece. You know, to really show what I mean is that it's not just like a biography in the common sense, but it's like a comic book, right? And it's got all these beautiful pieces of art done by the artist of Gorillaz, Jamie Hewlett. And it goes over all the stories, and it has like breakdowns of the songs and the music videos. And it's just such an interesting read that even to this day, if you're not a fan of Gorillaz, I think that there is still a lot of fun and a lot of interesting pieces to be held, especially when it talks about like the creation of the songs and the breakdowns of the songs and what happens to the characters. It really helps you get invested to more than just the music or just the animation like I was. So with the Rise of the Ogre book and all the music that I had at my disposal, I just blew up in popularity with Gorillaz. And what's interesting too is that at this time in my life, music had never really affected me in the way that the Gorillaz music did. You know, I played trumpet in the band, and you know, I like to sing and stuff, but I never felt anything from that music before. But with Gorillaz, with the big tracks like Clint Eastwood, Feel Good Inc., and the beautiful El Mañana, I feel like that was the first time I truly felt emotion because of music. You know, one of the best examples of that is watching the El Mañana video. So if you're watching this video, it's a very sad song. It's a very dark video. And one thing that you'll notice is that this is where like Noodle is like sitting on like, you know, like the flying windmill thing, and she gets shot down by these helicopters. And it's just the mix of the sad music and the visuals that just made me go, no, I don't want to see Noodle get hurt. I just want to give her like a hug or something, man. I don't want to hurt nobody. And you know, with such a character that characters that I like because I was such a big fan of all the Gorillaz, you know, it really made me feel when you see the fear in her eyes and when she goes down, and you just feel that like tension. You're just like, oh my gosh, I hope she's okay. But what's funny too is that for the longest time, I never knew if she was or not, because the next Gorillaz album wasn't released until 2010. Now, in 2010, that's when the Plastic Beach album came out. And Plastic Beach is really, really good. You know, even now, I still get those, like, that well of emotion whenever I watch, like, the Feel Good Inc. video or the El Mañana video. And I think it's just so incredible that a cartoon band, you know, with characters that are literally cartoons. You know, maybe I'm being crazy for feeling that way, but what can I say? You know, Gorillaz were there at a time in my life when I felt like I needed somebody. And for one reason or another, for better, for worse, it did kind of shape me in the way that I am today. So I'm always going to think fondly on Gorillaz and on those first few albums and what they did mean to me. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like the new albums. I think that most of the new albums that have come out in the last 10 years have been very good. But I'm always going to think very, very fondly of Gorillaz and Demon Days. Thank you guys so very much for watching. This is a very personal video to me because I'm such a huge Gorillaz fan, and I always have been. So thank you so very much for watching. This has been another episode of Kirk Talk, and I will see you guys in the next one.